Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope it's nice and crafty. And today I'm super excited to share with you 10 cards we're creating with the Dear Santa. This is a mega card kit. It's the Dear Santa Holiday Card Kit. It's over at Spellbinders, and this kit is fully loaded. I'm making 10 cards today, but you can very well, there's going to be lots left over because this is a fully loaded kit. I'm actually going to put everything to the side. Let's go over the kit contents really quickly. I have timestamps on the video, so if you want to skip over the unboxing, you can very well do that. I'm just going to take everything out of the box. You get 2 sheets of some mirror silver cardstock, and you know this is double-sided, and it seems a little bit thinner than Spellbinders Treasure cardstock, but I'm sure it's going to work fabulous. You also get 2 sheets of the gold, which are double-sided. Lovely. So 2 silver, 2 gold mirrors, and I'm just going to fan these out. Get a buffet of colors. So a buffet of cardstock and some silver and mirror gold. Okay, so that's that. We also get some card bases. These are side folding. It's a thinner weight. I would say this is 80-pound weight. The front has a little bit of texture to it, little tooth, and then you get some V-flap envelopes that are very nice quality envelope. And you get 20 card bases and 20 envelopes. Let's put this to the side. We also get adhesive. So this is one of those kits that you can take with you on the go. Okay, so you get 2 sheets of that. And then you also get, this is 8mm tape, but it's double-sided adhesive. For today's card, I'm going to use my tape runner because it's just quicker, but you could very well use this tape. Also included, we get a whole pack, and I'm in love with the gingerbread already, of die-cut ephemera. There's 168 pieces in here, and I'm not going to go through them all, but I will zoom in and you can see them all. We'll be using a lot of this on our cards today. Also included are, you know, I've been loving envelopes lately. I don't know what it is, but I just love the note cards and the envelopes. This is another ephemera pack. There's 130 pieces in here. So we will mix and match. This is what that pack looks like. Also included are some gems. You get 4 different colors, and there's 60. They're self-adhesive. I like the little glittery pieces in here. We'll be using these on our cards. Another thing that's included is a 6x6 paper pad. Spellbinders sells this individually too. There are 40 sheets in here, 20 designs, so you get 2 of each. Let me go flip through them really quickly. I love pattern papers. I haven't put pattern paper on a card in a while, so I'm super excited about this paper pad. You get a little brochure that's in the kit that tells you everything in the kit contents. Okay, also in the kit is a package of 38 pieces of chipboard frames and corners. I don't usually use corners on my cards, but I do use frames. They make quick and easy shaker cards. It looks like there's some postage edge in here too, which is really fun. Using those. We get puffy stickers. There's 2 sheets in here. There's a front and a back. The back has the alphabet, so you can customize it. You can put somebody's name on there if you wanted to, and a lot of puffy greetings of all sorts. That's included. And you also get 2 sheets of chipboard stickers. Love chipboard stickers. So you get just a buffet. Very easily can you create all of your Christmas cards with this kit. But that's everything in the kit. Okay? I'm going to bring in some red twine for my cards today. I'm also going to bring in my Glaze and glue. Okay, Glaze and glue is the glossy accents. It's a clear resin, liquid resin that adds gloss and dimension. So any kind of resin you have would work. I'm also going to bring in some glitter. Okay, this is just clear glitter. You can skip this, and if you have a glitter glue that you like, you can use that. These are silver bells. They don't jingle on their own. Well, I guess they do. You know what? I didn't think they jingled on their own, but they do. I thought they only jingled when I put them together, but I'm going to bring in some jingle bells. So, and I picked this up on Amazon, and the glitter on Amazon, and I'll link these below, okay? And I'm going to create, oh, I have my layouts, okay? I sketched out some layouts. Sometimes I just like to doodle, and I create my layouts here. So I have them. I'm going to start off by trimming down my pattern papers just so it goes a little bit quicker, and then we're going to create some cards. Let's go ahead and jump in with our first card, which is going to be with my favorite, gingerbread. I love gingerbread at Christmas. Okay, I'm going to start by taking a 1-inch strip of the silver mirror. I'm using silver mirror in my cards today because I'm using some of my silver jingle bells. But I think there's a lot of gold accents on the ephemera and cardstock. So if you wanted to switch out the silver for the gold, you could do that. Bringing in my glue, I'm going to add a little glue to the bottom here. And then I'm going to attach this pattern paper. This pattern paper measures 5.5 inches by 2 inches. Okay, I'm going to add this about halfway up here. Okay, and then I'm bringing in the ribbon and trim dies from Spellbinders. I'll link it down below if you don't have it. I like the rickrack that's in here, and I die cut that out with some white cardstock. I think rickrack and gingerbread go great together. I'm going to glue that here. Okay, I'm going to let that grab for a minute. In the meantime, I have this floral piece of ephemera. I guess I can zoom in a little bit more here. Okay, I'm bringing in that glitter that I showed you earlier. I'm going to add a little bit to one of my trays. And then I'm going to use my glazing glue, and I'm going to go around the edge of the ephemera on the holly. Just the edge. Maybe a little on the poinsettia too. Just add a little bit of that glazing glue on the edge. So we have little dots of glazing glue all over here, and then I'm just going to dip it in that glitter. Now I like this look. I like the icy look. I just think it just brings your cards to the next level when you do this, especially when you're using ephemera. Okay, and I love the sparkle. If you don't like glitter or don't like to deal with it, there are some stickles that you could bring in and do the same effects with. There's stardust, there's diamond, there's a lot of stickles. Even a frosted lace would look really good if you wanted to substitute the loose glitter. Okay, when you add it to the glazing glue, it dries pretty fast and it dries clear, so you're just left with the sparkle. Okay, I'm going to set this aside to dry. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm going to take my card base. These are side folding, so I want to make sure it opens the right way. And then I'm going to add my actually I'm going to use my tape runner. You can absolutely use the tape that came with our kit. For me, the tape runner is just quicker. I went ahead and trimmed off anything that was overhanging. Okay, now I'm taking this envelope that was in our ephemera, and then I did trim down this pattern paper that says Dear Santa. I trimmed it down to 2 inches by 2 inches. I'm going to add some adhesive on the, well, I guess I'm going to put adhesive on the bottom of the inside, and then we are going to, the nice thing is this has a slit in it. Okay, I'm just going to open it up and tilt this. And we'll attach this on the inside. Okay, tack that down. So far we're just one layer. Okay, now as far as these little gingerbread guys, I doctored them up a little bit. I'm using the gems that came in our kit. What I had did was added the white ones to their eyes. We have one white one left, but it does give me a little dimension to their little eyes. Okay, and then for their buttons, I'm going to use the teal. Just cover the existing ones. And then we have a little extra shine on our little gingerbread men. Okay, I did put foam tape behind them. We're just going to remove the release paper. And then I'm going to add 2 of them here. Okay, for the most part, I think this is dry. You see how fast that dries? I'm going to turn around this. I'm going to flip this over and put a foam square behind here. And we're going to add this over here. We're going to do a little tucking with it. Okay, we'll place this here. And then I have my red twine. And I'm bringing in my jingle bells. You've seen me do this. If you guys watched the video where I made the tags, what I do is just thread 3 together. It's really easy to do. I think this just makes a card extra special. If you don't like all the bulk, this is something that you can completely skip. And you could just not add the bow. I mean, you can not add the bells and just add the bow. I'm going to put it in the center of the poinsettia. Okay, but if you don't want the bells, you don't have to add them. I'm going to bring in a glue dot. And we'll just put a glue dot behind here. And then I'm going to put this in the center of that poinsettia. Actually, I'm going to turn it a little bit. I'm bringing in my chipboard stickers, and I'm going to use the greeting that says "Believe in the Magic." I need to put some small foam squares on this side, and then we're going to overlap on the gingerbread. And then while I have my glaze and glue out, I'm going to go ahead and go over the berries on the ephemera. Just add a couple little dots. That will dry clear, give me a little dimension with those also. And we're going to go over the bow. Just add a little shine to the bow on the gingerbread. And then that will finish that card. Fun little gingerbread card. Lots of sparkle going on. We're going to move along to our next card. Okay, for my next card, I have a 1/2-inch strip of this pattern paper. Okay, I'm going to adhere this to the bottom of my card base. I just want to make sure it opens the right way. It's going to go at the bottom. And then I have a 1/4-inch strip of red cardstock. Lovely. And then we have some pink cardstock that came with our kit. This is another 1/2-inch strip that I'm going to layer right over at the top here. And then I also trimmed down a really thin strip of our silver mirror. And I'm going to add this just above the red on the pink. I think that'll make a nice border. Now for this card, we're going to make a shaker. And so I have one of the chipboard frames that was in our kit. I'm going to remove the backing. Okay, it's clear. And then I have a piece of acetate I'm going to add to the back. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some foam tape and I'm going to put it around the entire back of this. Okay, now I trimmed down a white piece of cardstock to fit behind it, but I'm going to add a little bit of ink. I'm using my Kitsch Flamingo Distress ink, and I'm just going to add some pink in the background. Just a nice little light pink. Okay, and then we're going to bring in some of that glitter. I'm just going to pour some glitter in here. This shaker is really not going to shake. It's just more for shine. I'm going to take my panel and we're going to add it behind our chipboard frame. Give that a press. And then I have a little overhanging, so I'm going to trim away that. Now, this is from our ephemera. Mine was bent a little bit, but I wasn't too concerned. What I'm going to do is add glue along the candy cane portion of my shaker, okay? And then I'm going to layer this right over the top. We're going to put some tape behind here, okay? And then I'm going to adhere it over here. Okay, and then I'm going to layer this right in the center. But this is one of those cards, I'm going to use the ornament, but again, this is one of those cards that you could add lots of different elements to. Santa, reindeer, little Santa, the phone, even the mailbox. This is one of those that is kind of universal. Anything will fit in there. Okay, I'm going to also take the foam stickers here. And there's a 25 that I'm going to put in the middle. Lastly, I'm bringing in my twine, and I'm going to punch a hole here on the red. Actually, I'm going to punch a hole here in the middle of the pink. I'm just going to thread this through. And then at the very top of those poles, I thought we would add a gem. Let's see, do we want to add a gem to the top of those poles to give it even more dimension? Let's go ahead and do that. And that will finish that card. Nice and glittery. Love the way that looks. Now we're going to move along to our card number 3. Card number 3 is a pretty easy one. I trimmed down this paper so it is 3.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide. We are going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of our card base. It's going to go all the way to the bottom. And then I did die cut out that rickrack or the border with the silver mirror cardstock. I'm going to add some glue behind here. And we'll tack this over the seam. Okay, and then I have this ephemera piece. This is on the nice list, but I'm going to switch this out and add some layers. So I cut out a circle. I'm going to put adhesive behind it, and I'm just going to cover this up. Okay, and then I took Warmest Wishes from our chipboard pieces. And actually, this is something you could replace with Smile at Santa or Season of Joy. I put a foam square behind it, and I'm going to just tack it right here in the middle. So we have a little dimension to that. Okay, and all I'm going to do is put some adhesive behind here, and I'm going to tack this. We'll tack it add it to the left here. I am going to bring in my corner rounder and just round this corner. And that's all there is to that card. I have a panel that measures 3.5 inches wide by 4.75 inches tall. We're going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of our card. And then this is from our ephemera. We're going to take this, and I'm going to actually add a rickrack border to this. So I die cut out another border with white cardstock. I'm going to add this to this pattern paper, and the bottom is going to be a little bit thicker than the top. I was just making sure that this is nice and even. Okay. Now I have this tag. Now this tag, we have 2 of them. Everything in our ephemera packs, we have 2. Okay. This had a gold reinforcement. I replaced it with a silver eyelet. You can completely skip this. If you have eyelets, it makes a great added touch. And then I did add some red twine to it. Okay, I'm gonna make this a little bit longer. To do that, I trimmed down a piece of the silver mirror cardstock. I'm gonna add a little glue here. And then I'm gonna add, I don't need it that big. I'm just gonna add so about 1/2 inch is showing. A little bit shinier, and then I have this leftover rickrack that I'm going to cover over the seam. We'll put this to good use. After we have this done, I am going to flip this over, put foam tape behind it, and then I'm going to adhere it here. I went ahead and tied the bow here, and then I have the 2 cupcakes from our ephemera pack. They both have holly on here, but I want to add them here. Okay, they did have holly berries, but what I had did was taken my gems. I took the little sparkly ones, okay, and I replaced the holly berries with those. So they look like cherries now. I thought that would be really cute. Okay, next we're gonna need a greeting. For this one, I chose our ephemera piece that says "You Make Life Merrier." And then I am gonna fishtail both ends here. And there we go, that's that card. Okay, we're gonna move along to our next card. For this card, we're gonna use the plaid paper that was in our pattern paper. I just trimmed it down at one of the blue marks. And I'm gonna add some adhesive behind here. And then I have a 1/2 inch strip of our silver mirror. I'm gonna add a little bit of extra silver, okay, and then I can add more adhesive. And then this is gonna go in the bottom corner of our card base. Okay, I'm gonna flip it over, and anything overhanging, we're just gonna trim away. Lovely. I think that looks nice and festive. Now, using the pink and the red cardstock that was in our kit, there's several different reds. Let me show you. Okay, this is the darkest, this is the middleest, this is like a poppy color. Okay, so I used the middle red, and then I cut out the lighter pink. What we're gonna do is just layer them together. Okay, and then I'm gonna layer these on some white cardstock, just so it stands out. And these are all next in sizes, okay? In our ephemera pack, we have this fun little ephemera piece that I'm gonna layer here in the middle. Okay, this card's gonna be basically about circles. And then I'll take this and I'm gonna put this in the middle of our card base here. Okay, now after this is done, I have a silver mirror circle, and then we're gonna use this ephemera piece. It says joy, that's gonna be my greeting. Okay, I am gonna pop this up with the foam tape, and we're gonna layer this on the silver. I thought that looks really cool. I'm gonna add some adhesive here, and then we'll tack this right in the middle of our circles. Lots of layered circles, but I love the way it looks. Okay. Next, since I have the silver circle and then our joy is gold, I thought we would replace the joy with our puffy stickers and make the joy candy cane. So I'm just going to replace that joy with the puffy stickers. And there's you could do it with the blue or the pink or the green, any ones you want. And I think it's going to work out just great. They actually match pretty perfect. I mean, how cute is that? Okay, and now this has some mistletoe on there. I'm going to replace the mistletoe. What I'm going to do first is add glitter to this. So we're going to do the same thing we were doing. Okay, I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to add a foam square on this one, my holly at the top here. There we go. Okay, ideally you'd want to let this dry first. Okay, but we are just going to move right along. Okay, let's go ahead and add some gems. I'm going to add the solid red ones and replace the berries that are on the chipboard. Actually, I called it chipboard, but it's actually not chipboard, it is ephemera. And these, on the other side of the puffy stickers, we have this side, and there's a bunch of little polka dots. I thought we would add some polka dots along the edge too, just to make it a little bit more festive. So we'll add maybe the red, the green, the pink. There we go. Nice way to add a little more dimension. And that finishes that card. Now for this card, we're going to use this postage edge chipboard frame, and then I have a piece of the red cardstock. This is the middle tone red cardstock. This is a little bit longer than my card base, okay? So, but I really like the way this is going to look, okay? If you wanted to create a 5x7 card base for this, you could. Okay, but I'm going to use this one for my card. I'm going to remove the release paper here. I'm going to add it to some red cardstock. Then I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool and go around the sticker. I just don't want any tackiness because it is going to be overhanging on my card base. I'm going to take this and adhere it to the front of my card base. Okay, you can see it on the reverse side, but I'm not worried about it. Now I have some more of the Dear Santa pattern paper. This measures 3 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall. And I'm going to adhere this in the center, making sure my Dear Santa is right side up. I have 2 pieces of ephemera. I have the North Pole post, and then I have a little letter that I'm going to add to it, like so. I'm going to flip this over and put foam tape behind here. And then I'm going to tack it here in the middle on top. Okay, now I'm going to use my tweezers again because you know what we're going to do. We're going to bring in our glitter and a little bit of our glazing glue, and I'm going to add some sparkle. Okay, and then I put a foam square. This is going to be layered right over it also. So we have a little cluster on this side. Okay, in the meantime, I have these 2 pieces from our ephemera. They're actually little tags, but I'm going to add a dot of glue and just glue them together. You know, I call it a poinsettia, but I think it's where you're from is whether you call it poinsettia or a poinsettia. Next, I created another one of those bows with the bells. Save time, I had already did it. And I'm going to add the bells right over the center of that poinsettia, creating like a faux little tag. Lovely. Let's see, we're going to add some of these gems here to these little holly. We're going to add the ones that have the glitter. We'll add a little sparkle up here. And that will finish that card. Okay, for my next card, I have a panel that's 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to go ahead and adhere this. Can you tell what papers are my favorite from the paper pad? I keep using the same ones. Okay, this one, we're just going to center it, leaving a white border. And then I have some of the silver mirror cardstock. Let me tell you the size of it. This measures 3 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. Okay, we're going to mat some red cardstock on some white. The red measures 2 1/4 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And then this is going to go matted on a slightly larger piece of white cardstock. Just a little bit of it's going to show. Okay, and then we're going to adhere this to the silver. Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of my card base. For this card, we're going to use the stamps that are in our ephemera pack. Okay, we have the polar bear. I put foam tape behind here. This one guy's going to go on the top. I'm not going to press down just yet because I'll make sure they fit. We're going to use this stamp here. The one with the little house is going to go under the polar bear. We have the mistletoe. And this is going to go here. We have the little Christmas horse we're going to add here at the bottom. And then we have the little dove that we're going to fill in this area with. And then we'll press them down because I think that's a good fit. Okay, now next we have these 2 pieces of ephemera. And then we have these puffy stickers. Okay, I have the Holly Jolly that I'm just going to layer it over the stamp, North Pole stamp. Then I want to add some adhesive behind here. And we're going to add this one overhanging on this side. Just tack it. Okay, and then for this seal of approval, we're going to add peace and love. Again, these are the puffy stickers. We'll just layer them on here, and I'm going to add some adhesive. And I'm going to add a foam square on one side over here. This is overhanging a little bit too much. And we're going to layer this over here. And that will finish that card. Okay, for my next card, I have a 2-inch. You can tell I think I use both sheets of this, but I have a 2-inch wide strip. Okay, we're going to put this right down the middle of our card base. And then you can tell, and then as you can see, I made another one of those shakers using, this is the red polka dot postage edge. Okay, I put blue behind it instead of pink this time. Let's add some adhesive behind here. And I'm just gonna tack it right here at the top. And then I have some ephemera pieces. This one here is the ornament. We're gonna add some foam tape behind here. And then this is gonna go in the center. And again, you could switch out the ephemera for another piece. I just am partial to the real pretty ornaments. That's gonna go right in the center. And then I have this really pretty bow that I'm gonna replace this bow with. Okay, let's go ahead and add some adhesive behind here. I'm just gonna replace it here at the top. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, and then I created another bow using my red twine, but instead of adding 3 bells, I thought we'll just add 1. Okay, and I put a glue dot behind it, and I'm going to add it to this existing bow. Lovely. And then we're going to bring back our gems. We are going to add some of the gems here for the berries. I'm going to use a small, medium, and large. There we go. For my greeting on this card, I'm going to use the chipboard sticker that says peace, love, and joy. I am going to add some foam tape behind it for a little extra dimension. So it's the same height basically as our shaker. And I'm just going to place this right on the bottom. And that's all there is to that card. What we have is a 1/2-inch strip or a 3/4 inch strip of the silver mirror. We're going to add some adhesive behind here. I'm going to tack it so it's about 1/4 inch from the right here. Okay, and then I have a 1-inch strip of the plaid paper. We're going to layer this right over here. So 1/4 inch of that silver mirror is showing. And then I have, this is a 2 3/4 inch wide strip of the red. We're gonna layer this the same distance as we did on this side. Okay, and then I took my circle dies and I cut out a circle, and then I trimmed a little bit off of the circle here, because this is gonna go all the way to the edge of my card base on this side, okay? And then I took the same size circle and I just free-handed a wave on it. So I basically created an S on the circle, okay? We're gonna actually add a snowbank to our plaid paper here. We'll add it to the bottom, and then following that line, I'm gonna trim off the overhang. And then we can add some adhesive behind here. And this is going to go all the way to the edge again. Kind of just separates it. Something a little bit different. Okay, then in my ephemera, we're going to use the sled. Okay, I did put foam tape behind it. And then we're going to add the sled here. Okay, and then for my greeting, we're going to use some ephemera. This is the Holly Jolly. I'm going to add this right underneath the sled. Okay, and then I have the holly, and you know what I'm going to do with it. We got to bring back the glazing glue, and we're going to dip it in our glitter. Okay, and then I'm going to add one of the holly leaves up here. And then with this one, we'll do the same thing. Just add a little bit of glazing glue. And then we'll dip it in the glitter. And I did put foam tape behind here. We're going to add this one down here. And I really like the glittery ones. Although the glittery ones are a little bit big for the holly, I'm going to overlap them. I'm going to try and get the big ones in here. Let's add the 3 different sizes. And you know what? With this card, I'm thinking I need a little extra something. So I'm going to bring in my white gel pen. And I'm going to add faux stitching around the circle. I think that's just going to make it pop. I haven't did this in a really long time, but usually if I use a pattern paper, I'll do this. I would love to know how many of you have a white gel pen and if you still use it. And then that will finish that card. I love all that glittery split. I just love all this, the glitteriness of it. Okay, we're gonna move along to our final card today. We're gonna make this one pretty easy. Okay, I have a panel here. This measures 3 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. Okay, we're gonna take this and add a little glue to the top. And then I'm going to take this ephemera piece and layer it right over the top. Like so. Okay, I'm going to flip this over, put foam tape behind it, and then I'm going to layer this on the bottom here. Okay, let's layer this. Lovely. And then we have Santa. And Santa we have to put some foam squares behind. I'm going to put foam tape behind his list, and we're going to tuck his list right off to the side of him, like that. I think that looks really cute. For my greeting, I'm using the chipboard sticker. This is special delivery. I just think this is really fun and playful, but I am going to pop this up with some foam tape to give it a little bit more dimension. I'm going to take the pink and red heart that's in that chipboard sticker, and I'm going to add it right here. Okay, and then we need bells and whistles. Now, since this is a banner, what I want to do is take my glaze and glue and just add a little bit of glitter, not very much, over the holly. So we have a little glitter there. Okay, and then I did take one of those bell clusters again I've been making with the glue dot here, right next to Santa. Give that a little bit of texture there. And that will finish off my final card today. 10 cards that are so much fun. Okay, let's take a look at them all. I'm going to zoom as far out as I can. There's one. We have the sled. We have the ornament shaker with one bell bow. We have a cupcake card. We have a very simple banner card here. Okay, that's our stamp card. We have another shaker card with another ornament here with the North Pole. We have our circle card. This is one of those cards that would be great with a spinner. Okay, and then we have our little extra large card. And then lastly, we have our cute little gingerbread card. And those are 10 cards today. A lot of really long video. Thanks for sticking with me to the end if you did. Still shots of each of these cards will be over on my blog, so check out that. And thanks for joining me today with the Dear Santa holiday kit. It's a fabulous kit. I kind of like to go with the color theme, so of course this color theme was about the silver and the pinks and the reds. And I hope you enjoyed it. I love doing these kind of videos. The pattern paper is so much fun for me. And I hope you get a chance to check out the kit if you haven't already. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.